much faster. It's also about the American dream, this idea of being able to move up. If you get educated, if you work hard, as inequality has gone up, the American dream has gone down. These graphs are built on robust data, and this is the story that it tells. The rungs of the economic ladder have gotten wider and wider apart. And that American dream, ironically a term coined by a rich investment banker born into a rich family in New York City, that dream is looking more and more like a myth.
Welcome to the end of the land of freedom. Why are we, economically speaking, as a society here, where the owners and higher-ups of a set company have the rights of the livelihood over workers just looking for comfortable living and a job that isn't stressful? Why is it that if these workers try to look elsewhere, they don't have any good options, especially when looking for better treatment and hours? Actually, I would say that most don't even have options because of the current job market, especially new entrants. Yet, why is it that while the workers slave away for their livelihood, the higher-ups and owners get to have abundant resources and lifestyles from the labor of these workers, more than they and their family would ever need, just for themselves, while the workers barely scrape by? Doesn't this seem familiar? In modern capitalism, the economy has evolved into a system where corporate owners and executives hold disproportionate power over society, and that power is protected by the law. Welcome to the end of the land of freedom. What is slavery? At its core, slavery involves owning or controlling a person's labor through coercion, often by withholding basic needs like food, shelter, or security. Today's version manifests itself in economic vulnerability, low wages, job insecurity, and dependency on employers for survival, enforced by systemic forces rather than metal chains. Capitalism allowed this type of slavery because its fundamental incentive has always been on maximizing individual economic gain of the owners, but not the betterment of society. Rather, the betterment of society has always been a byproduct, but never the intended objective. We can observe their lack of care for society through the most recent layoffs from well-known companies. These companies had more than enough money to maintain the workforce they just laid off. Perhaps the solution, instead of laying them off, would have been to lessen the hours and responsibilities per person, to create a more stress-free environment for everyone while still giving them a livelihood. But instead, they chose to get rid of as many as they could, leaving the only necessary workforce to exploit for best profits. Yet the key words here are necessary and exploit. These companies do not value the years of loyalty a worker has given them, the personality the worker offered to the environment, or the effort to add value to the company. These companies only care about the necessary effort that drives the best profits for the owners and higher-ups. The moment these companies notice they do not need somebody's labor for profit, the moment they let them go. The worst part of this dynamic is that because these companies are monopolistic suppliers of most of society's necessities and wants, they will always be well off. In fact, most are well off to the point they no longer care about supply and demand. They'll price their products or services based on their own pride and entitlement, rather than actual demand from customers that cannot afford their prices. They're okay with letting their inventory or services go without sales for months, while most starve for the necessity of their products/services they hold monopolies over. These companies do not care for improvement because their owners and higher-ups are well-fed, and as long as they hold a monopoly over their industry, there is little to no incentive for them to change or innovate for the betterment of society. As a result, 95% of society ends up having to suffer because of the protection the law offers these monopolies and the overall ideology of capitalism. Society is slowly losing their access to basic necessities such as transportation, housing, food, and communication systems because these companies no longer need most of society. AI has become the new source of labor, and these companies are betting big on it, aiming to replace as much human labor as they can. Even worse, the rich are now reaping the rewards of capitalism more than ever. A few have houses in every state they like. A few buy supercars every month to race on their private racetrack. A few buy massive amounts of lands to monopolize later on. One rented a whole island. One might have the ability to buy the whole world. Unless you're a Nepo baby, a startup founder, or a senior executive with experience, you will have to slave away for a long time to probably gain freedom from capitalism. But even then, for a few it might be too late, and they'll have to slave away for the rest of their life if they want to stay here. Welcome to the land of slavery. This is the introduction of my economy series.